Okay, well, next we're going to have Jody Pollok-Newsom. Everybody knows Jody. She's our Executive Director for the Michigan Wheat Program. And she's going to give us a few minutes here on an update, what's the latest in the Michigan wheat industry and kind of what our Board of Directors are doing.
Well, good afternoon. Everybody looks happy. You guys look well fed, ready to go. And right before I came up, Jeff said, hey, we got extra time. Make sure you fill it. No, he didn't. He did not. He did not. I can talk, but I promise I will stick to our presentation. So appreciate the opportunity. Definitely appreciate all of you being here. It's a lot to put one of these meetings together. And it seems like in the past, we've kind of put my presentation right before lunch. How quick can we get through? But in talking with the board, we've done some really neat things. And so I do want to take a few minutes with you today to get you up to date and let you know what it is that we do with your checkoff dollars. And we do have several board members here. I know you've been introduced, but if you just kind of want to put your hands up, then if you guys don't like what I say, look at them. And then when we're done, you can talk to them in the parking lot. It'll all be good. Just really quickly, Michigan Wheat Program, I think you guys know we are your wheat checkoff. We were voted in 2011, so we'll be coming up for another vote again next year. And basically, we are run by our board of directors, which is growers across the state, and Jim, as he told you before his presentation, and our big focus is research. The wheat checkoff was started because it seemed like a lot of advances had been made in corn and soybeans. Things are moving ahead, and there wasn't really a big push or a big focus on wheat. So we got the organization going, and have funded nearly 185 research projects totaling a little over $5.5 million. So as you go out where the trade show is, there's that booth that have our little roll-up banners on it. There's a lot of publications there. We have the Michigan Wheat 101 publication. That's basically research results from the first 10 years of the program. When we had COVID, Dennis and I were talking about, what do we do? It's a COVID year. We can't really do meetings. So we worked with MSU researchers and developed Michigan Wheat 101. And rumor has it, Michigan Wheat 102 or 2.0 or will be coming. We're starting to take a look at that. So definitely an organization. Our big focus is research. About 60% of our budget every year goes towards research. I'm not going to read all these to you. You can take a quick look. These are all the different topics that we have funded. We are very heavily funders of Eric and his wheat breeding program. We actually, Dennis and I stay in touch. What does the industry need? What are the kind of varieties we need? With Jim on the board, what are we looking at? Are there issues with milling? And make sure we have communications and we keep that information flowing so we're doing the kinds of research that need to be done. And then from the other side, from the grower side, we do our summer field days. We rotate those between campus and here, and that's where we talk to you and get your feedback and come up with our list of priorities and what projects we're going to fund. One of the newest things we've taken a look at, and this was announced at the field day last year, we certainly don't have definitive answers at this point. We are funding more research and more work is going on, but some early research looked that there could be some opportunities for wheat as a trap crop for soybean cyst nematode. So they did it out in the field. They just were actually doing other research, taking some counts and looking at things, and the research just happened to mention that, oh, by the way, when we use wheat, we have the eggs, we have the hatching, but then we don't have the juveniles. And that's when we realized there could be some really neat opportunities. So hopefully in a summer or two, when we do one of the field days, we will actually have more information and be able to give you details. But this is one of those projects that we're looking at and really pushing the researcher to see if she can't move more quickly and get us results sooner. We also like to take the research results and get back to you guys and share with you what the results are of the research. Certainly you get some information at the winter meetings, and you also get them through the summer field days. The summer field days are big opportunities for you to come in and kind of kick the tires, if you will, go out there, talk with the researchers, learn what's going on, share what's going on at your farm, and help us develop more research for the future. Our field day this year, it's already been mentioned, it's been up in the slides, but June 25th of 2025, and that will be in conjunction with Weed Day. So we're going to see how that works, putting those two events together. We also have looked at, if we have the information, we're sharing with you what we've done for the research, we're funding the research, what do we need? And one of those areas we started, and we talked earlier, certainly started with Martin Nagelkirk, was how do we get the boots on the ground? Because as we got up and got going, you guys had lots of questions. So we were trying to make sure, how do we have the people doing the research? How do we have the people out there to get to the meetings, to do the plot days, to do the demonstrations, and share that information back with our growers? So we were very fortunate to be able to start that with Martin, get that moving along, and then we had an opportunity with MSU to fund a wheat breeder position. And that was done through the checkoff. I think Jim Palmer's here. I think Crop Improvement put funds in. Jim Doyle, I know the Millers put some funds in to help make this happen and make sure that that wheat breeder position got filled. And I think we can all say we are very pleased and very, very lucky to have Eric in that position. If you have not walked wheat plots with Eric, has anybody done that? Is it not like meeting his family? And then there's this one, and there's this one, and he talks about his kids. That's more loving than the wheat, but the wheat is right behind there, and he can tell you the pedigree and why he's so excited about it, and it's awesome. It's like that energy and enthusiasm that has really helped grow our program. And then we had the great opportunity, because we thought, well, we need even more boots on the ground. We had the opportunity to bring in Dennis Pennington, in a position that is funded 50% by your checkoff dollars and 50% by Michigan State University. So even though we don't work in the same office, I don't know if there's a day that goes by that we don't talk, or what's this project, what's this program, but that gives you the grower input, the grower support, the link with Michigan State, and we are really able to move things and get things done. And probably what one of us doesn't think of, the other one does, and we could have a limitless to-do list. But we get her done, and we get a lot handled, and it's a great tag team. So we have all that going on behind the scenes, moving the industry forward, looking at the people. Then we've also looked at the infrastructure, and you can see the picture up here. This is some of the board members from the past, some of the staff from MSU from the staff. One thing that was really important to the board was to make sure we had a long-term wheat research commitment from MSU. So the board we worked with MSU and developed a payment plan. So over a few years, we were able to invest $700,000 in Severick, right here at this research station, and got a commitment from Michigan State. So if anything happened and the wheat checkoff went away, MSU is committed to, at the time, it was 30 years of wheat research here at Saginaw Valley Research Center, which was a great opportunity, a great commitment that gets us in doing some of those crop rotation studies, that gets us long-term, that gets us a seat at their board. So as they're looking at the farm and making decisions, wheat is now represented, which makes perfect sense, especially with dry beans as we're looking ahead. So the next thing we're looking at, MSU is back at the door again, and we are looking, there is a wheat research farm. Does anybody know there's a wheat research farm? There's a wheat research farm, and it is in Mason, Michigan, just south of campus. So we kind of uncovered some of this as we got to looking, but this was really set up many, many years ago to be the wheat farm. And right now that's been growing, especially with all the work that Eric and Dennis are doing. So they're out looking for some funds to be able to really make that building more workable and to be able to grow the program and do more research. When they moved out there, there was no heat in that building and there was no bathroom. So if you're working in Mason and you have to go to Okemos, to a McDonald's or someplace like that. So we've been able to work, and I'm going to toot Dennis's horn. Dennis has been there on weekends, building the offices out, making that an up and functioning. A lot of Eric's work has moved there. So they have really put in a lot of the work to get this really moving ahead and not just be a shell of a building. So we're trying to grow that, improve that, so we can get more varieties developed and do more looking at the research and the research plots. So lots of things going on that I think day to day we don't really think about or realize through the wheat checkoff. We also have done a lot looking at equipment, right? Because first you need the research, then you need the people, now we need the infrastructure, and now we need the equipment. So we've either been able to set up some agreements with MSU to partner and again make some payments to them so we can do longer term funding to add some equipment. We've been able to partner with dry beans on purchasing equipment and soybeans on purchasing equipment. So as we grow the research program, Dennis and Eric have available what they need to be able to get the job done. There's nothing more frustrating than needing to get to the field and it's not your turn for the equipment or someone else has it. So this way, they're able to get out there, get those plots in, get those plots off, and make sure we have the best data and the best information. We're also looking at what is that next phase, right? Because we kind of have that infrastructure built. We have the projects, we have the people, we have the equipment, we have the land. Where do we go now? And as I mentioned, we are huge supporters of Eric's. And Eric has just been very prolific in that position where there used to be a new wheat variety every 4 or 5 years. There are years that Eric might have 4 or 5 varieties in 1 year. So that is not a system that we were set up or that's been dealt with of how do we deal with these numbers, how do we get all these varieties to market. So we've really been looking at how can we help, how can we make sure that when growers invest in research and get a new variety developed, that variety makes it to the marketplace. You guys can get it purchased, you can get it in the ground, and you can make sure that you're on the cutting edge getting the best information that you can and the best varieties that you can. So here's just an example of what we have looked at for a different variety to have an information sheet, to be able to get information out there and to share it. So that is all still in process, but we're trying to make sure we follow things through the pipeline and get them to the marketplace. Also looking kind of at the technology, I just kind of mentioned that. We do have an intellectual property agreement with our researchers and with MSU, and there's been a couple projects that we have invested in, and initially it looked pretty good, and then might it go, might it not go? It needed some work looking with industry to see if it could make it to commercialization. MSU was not that interested in pursuing it, so we were able to say we will step in, do another year of funding, we can do more research and see if it makes sense for this to go to the marketplace. So that's where that intellectual property agreement comes through. For MSU and MSU Technologies, they're looking at the big projects like the cancer drugs. They are not looking at some of the testing kinds of things that we are and some of the things that would help the growers. So, and I already mentioned a little bit about the growing pipeline. So when we look also at the program and look at the funding of the program, and this is also too why we're looking at some of the varieties and looking at being able to help get things to market. We've been in a position looking at our wheat breeding program and the work that Dennis does, that MSU puts them in a deficit position when they look at the end of the year and look at their budgets. So we also do program of work, just agronomy funding, to make sure that, you know, we got to have internet, we have to have fuel, we have to have infrastructure things, we have to have toilet paper, we have to have paper towel. What is it that we need? And so this is the funding that we have done for them the last few years, just looking at what that shortfall has been. So our goal is to help move things to market, get some more funds in, and make sure we're keeping this program going to see what are the next things on the horizon. One of the other areas that we have worked at and put a lot of funding into is the Yield Enhancement Network. And Dennis, here it comes again. I always tease Dennis. So 5 years ago, Dennis gets on the phone with me and tells me about this awesome new program and is wondering if I could just jump on this phone call Friday morning. I've been doing that same Friday morning phone call for 5 years, but it has led to the Great Lakes Yield Enhancement Network. And this has been a wonderful opportunity for us. Really, for us, we've put staff towards it, a lot of my time. Dennis puts his time. We've also put some funding towards it to help it get up and to help it get going. So if you're not familiar, I'm just going to take you through a few slides. Have some of you heard of the Great Lakes Yan? Couple hands, few hands, yeah. Some of you are in the Great Lakes Yan. The Great Lakes Yield Enhancement Network is really established to help wheat producers and help farmers learn from farmers how to grow better wheat. It's really that simple. And what we really look at is the model that was developed in the UK, and you heard about that from Mark. It's been a super successful program, helping growers do a better job growing wheat and really helping you learn more and figure out what are those things I can do to eke those next 5 bushels out. In the UK, they have over 400 farmers. You heard earlier the yield contest, the report that you get back, and the networking event. So I'm not going to talk a lot about that. We've kind of hit that. But we partnered, Dennis and I partnered with the Ontario government, the University of Guelph, and the grower organization, the Grain Farmers of Ontario. And that's where we started Friday mornings having discussions. What if? How could we do this? Would this maybe work? What could this look like? And very excited to say, 21 was our pilot year. We had 43 fields across the US and into Canada. Then we moved to 98 fields, 23, 156, 24, 186, and in 25, we're 187. Sign up is closed, but I'm pretty sure we all know someone. If you really wanted to get in, you could touch base with Dennis and we could get you in. So the program launches February 28th. So if you want in, you just need to let us know so we can get you added. And I think, when we started this, I think we thought it would take a while, especially when we looked at the UK, that it took how many years to grow to 400? I never thought that we would be at almost 200 5 years in. But this program has been super successful, and you can see from our map where those different dots are. We've also had participants in Washington State, North Carolina. We have a whole bunch coming this year from Missouri. We did a wrap-up meeting in Kentucky. Dennis did that, just looking at our numbers and our interest. The unique thing about this is all the data that is gathered. And the data is gathered, and it's your data. So the names come in, Dennis gives them ID numbers, and I don't even know who is what ID number. He is the only one that knows who goes with what. So you get in the program, you enter your data, and we do all of these different samples and all these different evaluations of your field and what's going on your farm. So lots of data, very data heavy. You wonder, how do we get all that data input? We actually have a program that Dennis has spent many, many hours on, a handheld that you can put in your data right from the field. A lot of growers do it. Sometimes agronomists help them do it, but you're getting all that data in of what you're doing on your farm. It comes together with the tissue samples, and you get this report at the end. Mark talked to you about his report and shared some of his information. Our growers get pretty much the same thing. This report was from 22, and you can see our first place was 165.92 bushels. And percent of yield was 87.97. So you can see just in the few years how that's changed and how our numbers have really ramped up. This just gives you an idea. You don't need to read them all. This is what you're looking at for your table of contents. So you're getting a 30 to 35 page report that's showing you what's happening on your farm. So if you do it again in the future, you can go back and compare those. And we're getting excited because we're getting in crop rotations where we can now go back and you can look to see what you did before and how it's changed now. So lots of great information, lots of data for you to take back, analyze, and figure out what you want to do and maybe what you can tweak and how you can get the most you can out of every bushel. This shows you where you rank based on yourself as a grower. You can see the top 10%, then you can see the middle 50%, and then you can see the lowest yen value. And you get this for your different data, the different areas, so you can really look and really evaluate that crop. One of the things about this program is it's really expensive. So it costs a grower $300 to participate. It costs the program over $900 for that grower to go through. And that's nothing for staff. Staff time is all donated at this point. My staff time is all covered by the checkoff. A lot of Dennis's time is covered. So these are the folks we went to and said, we have this great idea. We would love to do this Great Lakes Yield Enhancement Network program. Who will help us? And you can see as you look who stepped up, and Jim went through it when he went through with you, the mills in the state of Michigan. All of the flour millers in our state stepped up behind us to help and to fund and to support the program, which I think is outstanding. We do our fundraising in our program. Ontario does theirs. We work together kind of like hand in glove, but our funds are separate, and our two programs just run together as sister programs. But they do not have that support from the mills. Our mills go to our wrap-up meetings. We share information. We have open conversations, and they get like a synopsis so they can see what trends are and what trends are happening. So not on all the data points, but just so we get a good picture of the industry. So these are sponsorship levels. You can see these are things we give to sponsors. As we move ahead, if you are a company that's interested in getting more involved, or if you're a grower that thinks you know someone that should get involved, these are ways that we try to bring our sponsors in to help and to support the program. One of the neat things about the Yield Enhancement Network, and I'm going to skip down to that, is the network part. And the first 2 years, we just figured out what to do. But now we're really looking and focusing on the network part. So in 23, we sponsored a tour here to the US and went to the farms up in the thumb of several of the Yen participants. In 24, we went to Ontario and had a summer program. And in 2025, we are going to the United Kingdom. We just might happen to stop for sure at Mark's farm to take a look and see. We've kind of hit some of this information, but if you are interested and you want to be part of the program, you really need to let us know so that we can get you involved. And then as we look to the future, in 2026, the US meeting and tour will be held in the Kentucky area. So they have Phil Needham. A lot of us have heard him speak. He is really working with the folks in Kentucky. They are very involved, and their numbers have been increasing when we look at participation. When we look for us for the future, for your checkoff, we're looking at the strategic plan. What do we need to do next? Where do we need to continue to focus? And we are also looking at variety releases and new product development. So we've started our work on the strategic plan, and those were two areas that rose to the top that industry and growers said, yes, keep going, forge ahead. So with that, I think it's a little more than a nutshell, but that is really what is going on for your checkoff program. That's where your funds are being focused. If you have questions or need information, that's how you get a hold of me. We are on Facebook on Michigan Wheat. So if you go there, you'll see I've been going out and posting speakers and topics that we've been doing today. We also have a YouTube channel that is very much populated by Dennis. So all the different samples you take in Yen, looking at the different growing degrees, looking at all the sampling he does in the field, that stuff is also up there on our YouTube. So with that, I think I kind of encapsulated everything that we've been working on. So it looks like we do have time for a couple questions.
Yep. Any questions for Jody? Somebody's got to have one question.
Oh, there's one.
Here we go.
That picture up there where you had all the farms that were signed up in Michigan and Ontario. Is it just me, or was one of them icons in James Bay? You had the yellow. There. Like way up there.
Way north, yeah. Yeah, there's one grower way up north there.
Okay. I
Yep.
just was like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you think about that latitude. What do you think the latitude is at Mark's farm? Yeah. He's even farther north than that. He's like probably 2 or 3 more degrees north latitude from there.
Thank you.
So, yep.
Jennifer?
Jody, how do you handle, you said the yen is, it costs growers $300, and then the actual real cost is more like $900, that's being picked up by the checkoff. How do you handle out-of-state people?
It's being picked up by the sponsors. Most of, like our time and stuff is paid for by the checkoff, but a lot of the program costs and that stuff is paid for by the sponsors. So we have sponsors from out of state, and we're recruiting more for 25. Yeah, we have Kentucky. Yeah, they have a lot of participants So Dennis was able to work with them. It's a grant because they're a checkoff too, but they're a funder. And Manel has a lot of growers in Ohio that participate. So they're a funder, which also covers a lot of that Ohio. And we actually had Ann Osborne from the National Wheat Foundation, who's in charge of the National Wheat U contest. She and Dennis presented together at the Great Lakes Crop Summit, and we are talking with them because they get data and we get data to see if there's like sponsor opportunities, are there things that we can do things together? If you're a grower doing both, is there a way that growers don't have to do the work twice? So there's a lot of stuff in conversation. We've talked a little bit with other kinds of sponsors, more food company type, but we've been really careful to keep a strong base as we get started and grow the program to make sure it's the data the growers need, not all the data other people need. But as we get the data, you can extrapolate enough trends and stuff that we think eventually we'll be able to pull some of that stuff. And we're moving into more of the soil health data. So, we really thought, I think it's safe to say that maybe at year 5, we'd be at 75 or 100. So it's grown so quickly. That's been part of it, is just how do we get the funding and how do we keep moving ahead? So good question. Because yeah, we're always looking for more sponsors.
Okay, any more questions? Okay.
So I'm going to have Jeff come up too, because I have a little presentation that is not on the board. Can you make this just go away? So we have a little presentation that is not on your agenda. And as you know, we have a 9-member board of directors. Growers for our board are appointed by the governor. So the governor can appoint a board member for 3 years, and you can do 3 3-year terms. And we have been very blessed to have wonderful, outstanding board members. And we have one of those board members, and I did not tell Brent Wagner that we were going to do this. But Brent has served, this summer will be 9 years on our board. And Brent is going to go off, and it makes me choked up because my daughter and I have become pretty tight with him and his wife, Peg. And Brent has been awesome. And we got his plaque, and it was broken. So I don't have a plaque. I'm so sorry. But I want to make sure that we thank him for his time, his energy. These guys get this whole stack of research proposals. They have about 8 to 10 days to go through them all. Researchers come in for 2 days. Every 20 minutes, it's a different researcher. We really do focus on research, and Brent looks at those. If he can't open something, he's on top of it. He lets me know. And then when the researchers come in, he always comes up with these really strong, good, quiet questions of, would this work or would this work? And I just wanted to make sure we got to thank him and let him know you will truly be missed on the board. We appreciate all you've done. Thank you, Mark. I got to give you a hug. Good job. Do you want to say anything?
I think George wants to get a picture.
When I started out on this, I wasn't sure what I was getting into. And after 9 years,
Is that good? I don't know which one's which.
is that okay? I've learned so much that you start out, you wonder how you even know how to grow wheat sometimes. But I think it'd be a great opportunity for anybody in this room that would be interested to be on this board. You'll learn a lot, you'll make a lot of good friends, you meet a lot of new people. I met Mark today. I mean, how often do you have an opportunity to meet somebody who's grown wheat in UK? So thank you all for the opportunity. Great friends here. I've met Jody and the rest of the group. So thank you very much.
Good job.